Hey, Pokedad Fan Club, it's me, Pokedad, and today we're doing another deck profile for Monday deck profiles. In fact, I'm going to actually do this one and another one for you because tomorrow on Tuesday Night Fights, my son, which goes by the username Link Geek, and I will be doing another battle, and we're actually going to be using the decks that we're planning on playing for cities. Now it may change, but as far as we know, this is what we've been practicing and what we've been playing. So let's get right into it. Now this is my deck. This is the deck that I've been practicing a lot, and I'm pretty sure, 95% sure, this will be the deck that I play. I did just recently use Seismitoad Giratina at a league challenge and did very well with it. So I guess I could fall back to that potentially if I find that the meta is not going to support um, this deck. But this is what I've been playing real so far, and it's done really well. Now I've done a Mega Mewtwo Y deck. It was a fairy build, but this is more of just a speed build. It's basically designed to have Mega Mewtwo out on turn 2 and hitting with a Psychic Infinity for potentially, depending on how many energies the opponent has, you can be hitting for 180 or 190, I should say, turn 2. So we'll talk about how we get to those numbers. So Mega Mewtwo is the main attacker. Psychic Infinity does, for a double colorless, does 10 damage, and then 30 damage times the number of energy on your active and on your opponent's active. The key thing when you're playing with Mega Mewtwo Y is you got to realize that if you're playing against EXs, just basic EXs, they're in the 170 to 180 range. So between you and your opponent, you need to have 6 energies. And I found that the optimal point is for our Mega Mewtwo to have 4. We really don't want to go more than 5. Otherwise, we can, if we lose the Mega Mewtwo, then we have to start building another one, and it can take, even though we have some speedy ways to get energy and play quickly, we really don't want to put more than 5 on there. So, but if we have 4, usually like Seismitoad is going to have a double colorless, or whoever you're playing against, most likely they're going to have 1 or 2 energies, and then that's enough to take a knockout on them. If you're going against opposing megas, that changes a little bit. We really need most of the time to have 7, and sometimes we need 8 energies. 7 is not always that difficult to get to, and that's why it is okay sometimes to put 5 energies on the Mega Mewtwo X. Y, EX, I should say. So if we're going against opposing megas, then we want to try to get to 5, because that seems to be the magic number to one-hit KO most mega EXs. The one thing about Psychic Infinity, though, is if we don't get a one-hit KO, we're going to most likely get a 2-hit KO, and we really want to try to limit. We don't want to have 2-hit KOs for like basic non-EX Pokemon. We really want to be trying to one-shot those right away. I'll talk about another strategy that I use specifically with this deck. I kind of used it as my secret sauce for this deck. I've seen a lot of people playing Mega Mewtwo Y, and they've been doing fairy variants or metal variants, but I actually prefer just to use Psychic Energy, and I'll talk to you about that right now. So the only Mewtwo EX that I use is the Shatter Shot one. And the reason for that is not so much the attack Shatter Shot as it is for the attack damage change. See, I don't play any Dimension Valleys in this build. I play Shrine of Memories. And here's the thing, if they hit me, if they don't one-hit KO me, then I'm going to try to take that damage and put it right back on them. And sometimes I can even Lysander something else up and put the damage on it and knock it out. And then I've got a clear Mega Mewtwo again. Now, I rarely use the damage change when I'm just in the Mewtwo form. I rarely even use Shatter Shot, though On turn 1, if I go second, I can potentially use a Shatter Shot for 30. But most of the time I'm in the Mega Mewtwo form, and so damage change comes in really handy. We use 3 Shrine of Memories. Each player's evolved Pokemon can use any attack from its previous evolution. And this is kind of my secret sauce that I don't see other Mega Mewtwo Y players using. But I've tested this a lot and I found it to be very, very effective, especially when you're going against like stage 1 decks or non-EX decks. You can just throw the energy back onto your opponent, take a knockout, and then have a whole clean Mega Mewtwo once again. So that's why I play the Shrine of Memories. Anyway, moving right along. So we have I play 4 of the Mewtwo EXs, 3 of the Megas. Now you may ask, well, why do I play 4? Well, the reason is I don't have a whole lot of basic Pokemon, and when I was just playing 3, I really struggled to get a basic. I was mulliganing a lot, or I was getting stuck with Shaman or Hoopa more than I would like. Now, it's inevitable that you're going to start with Shaman or Hoopa if you play them in your deck. It just happens for time. But that being said, I want to kind of minimize the mulligans and minimize the times that I use that, draw into them as my starter. So by playing 4 Mewtwo's, that gives me the best chance of, starting with Mewtwo. One of my other starters that I'm okay starting is Zorua, and I have toyed with this. Sometimes I've played 3 of these, and sometimes just 2. And this build that I'm showing you is just 2, but I'm still kind of playtesting on going with just a 3-2-1 line of Zoroark Break. So Zorua has Moonlight Madness. We use the Moonless Madness so that if we ever had to, we could confuse our opponent, maybe buy ourselves a turn. But if we start Zorua, we usually want to try to get a Float Stone on it and put something a little more tanky up, like Mega Mewtwo. I mean, Mewtwo until we get into a Mega Mewtwo. Or if I really, ideally, most of the time I get a turn 1 Hoopa, and we can tank Hoopa a little bit until we get a Zoroark going, and then we can use the stand-in and retreat. And so Hoopa can take a little bit of damage while we're setting up, but this deck really doesn't need a whole lot of setup. We actually get going pretty much by turn 2. We want to be trying to hit with Psychic Infinity and then and go from there. Alright, so from Zorua we do go into the Zoroark, and I was talking about the stand-in ability. This is like Keldeo's Rush-In. In some ways, I mean, Keldeo is much better since it's an EX. It has more HP and you don't have any evolutions. But Zoroark is really, really moving up fast in price, and it's very understandable why, because the attack is a lot better than Keldeo's attack. Keldeo requires a lot of energy to really hit hard, whereas Zoroark with Mind Jack, I mean, if they have a bench of 5, Mind Jack is going to hit 160. And with a Muscle Band, you can be taking out most EXs. So Zoroark in itself, without even needing the break, is pretty strong. So that's why we use Zoroark. That and the stand-in with the Float Stone allows us to clear any confusion or poison or any effects on our Pokemon. So that's why we use Zoroark. We do play 1 Zoroark Break in this deck. Because Foul Play is just so strong, to be able to copy our opponent's attacks for just 1 Darkness Energy comes in very handy. I must say though, it is somewhat situational, but like against Seismitoad, he's Quaking Punching for 30 or 50. You can Foul Play and then use his Grenade Hammer back at him for 130. So you 2-shot Toad pretty quickly, pretty easily, and you could, even if you wanted to, you could potentially Quaking Punch him first and then come back with a Grenade Hammer. So that's just one idea of Foul Play. I've also seen it used on Mega Houndoom to hit 160 back at him. Um, you can, if you're playing the mirror match with another Mega Mewtwo Y, Psychic Infinity. If you're playing against Mega Mewtwo X, you get to do Vanishing Strike for 200. If you play Primal Groudon, you're getting to do Gaia Volcano for 200, for all for one dark energy. So when you got Mega matchup, it really is useful. Another great attacker. Excuse me, guys, it's kind of late and I'm getting tired, but you can also use it as for Chaos Will against Giratina. And so Zoroark Break just very, very valuable, even though we don't always use them in every matchup. So we just one of them is just fine. We do play Hoopa, and Hoopa really is he's kind of like, I would say, the backbone of this whole deck. If we can draw into an Ultra Ball or a Skyla at the beginning of the game, we can Ultra Ball for Hoopa, and then grab two Mewtwo's and a Shaman, and we just keep going right on our merry way. Or if we have a Spirit Link in hand, we can go ahead and grab Mega Mewtwo so that we know that we've got it ready to go for turn 2. So so Hoopa is just really strong here. Shaman obviously has the setup ability, which allows us to draw back up to 6 cards in our hand, so very, very valuable. Let's just take a quick look at the supporters and then we'll talk about items. Alright, we play the Force Sycamore. It's just standard. Um, Everybody's pretty much playing Force Sycamore, and you really need it just to draw through your deck quickly and easily. So very useful card there. We do play 2 Skyla, and at first, when I first got into the Pokemon scene, I really underestimated this card. I didn't think it was all that great, but I find Skyla to be very, very invaluable in this deck. There's a lot of pieces that I'm trying to put together, and Skyla can help in many, many ways, better than even Trainer's Mail can. I mean, I know Trainer's Mail gives me a chance to hit the piece that I need, but Skyla makes sure that I get the piece that I need. If I need a Spirit Link, I can Skyla for the Spirit Link. If I need an Ultra Ball, I can Skyla for an Ultra Ball. If I need my Stadium, I can go Skyla and get the Stadium. If I need to get more energy on my Mega Mewtwo because I need to take the knockout, I can Skyla for the Mega Turbo and then get another energy on my Mega Mewtwo. So Skyla just is very, very invaluable in this deck. Very, very needed. I play 2 Lysander. Lysander is just so important, especially with this deck, because we use the damage change. We don't use it we may not use it every game, but more often than not we're going to use it at least one time in every game, and Lysander can be just the perfect card to help with that. If once you got it set up, and let's say they hit you even for just 120 damage, but they have a Shaman on their bench, well, you just Lysander up to Shaman and you damage change all that damage back onto their Shaman. Matter of fact, maybe you did a hit with Psychic Infinity and you put maybe 100 damage on a Pokemon already, but then they hit you back and you have 120. Well, I don't want to damage change because then I'm just going to do they're going to get 120 and I'm going to get 100. But if we can Lysander something up and then put all the damage on something that's empty, then it's like getting a max potion and taking a knockout. And with Shaman, it's like taking a 2-prize knockout and getting a max potion at the same time. And I mean, I don't know about you, but that is just so powerful that I have built the deck around that. That's why I don't care for the fairy builds or the metal builds, because I want to use damage change. Or at least I want to have the threat of being able to use damage change, and that alone causes your opponent to have to rethink his strategy of how he's going to attack. We play 1 Birch. There's a couple reasons for this. First of all, sometimes we get into a hand that we don't really want to sycamore away, and Birch at least gives us that option to put stuff back in. We do run the risk of only drawing 4 cards, but we have enough outs, and this deck is very, very consistent that we can usually recover even from a 4-card draw. That's why I'm not too worried about people judging us in this deck, because we usually can get something that will allow us to get back into the card draw. It doesn't draw dead very much. It used to, but then I've been tweaking it, and now we have a very, very consistent deck here. Finally, we play 1 Hex Maniac. It's very important. And by the way, I mentioned Skyla. This is another card that Skyla can go grab for you. If you're playing against Vileplume, Hex Maniac comes in handy. Though I will say that item locking this deck is probably not as effective as other decks. I've kind of tried to keep the items to a minimum. I mean, we still have quite a few, but Hex Maniac's just invaluable for that. But it's even more invaluable for when you play Giratina or you play a wall. Of course, we do have Zoroark to help us out with Giratina if we need to. But what I like even better is just taking the Giratina out with the Mega Mewtwo. And Hex Maniac allows us to do that. I mean, with if Giratina is charged up with 4 energies already on it, we're only going to need basically a double colorless on our Mega Mewtwo and a Hex Maniac, and that Giratina is gone. And of course, we can always VS Seeker it back in to our hand if we need it, so we can keep reusing it against Giratina or any other walls that we might run across. Alright, so that's our supporter line. Let's take a quick look at our items. Obviously, we're playing 3 Mewtwo Spirit Links. We need that because we're Mega Evolving, and so anytime you use a Mega Pokemon, you pretty much want to have a Spirit Link. We play 2 Battle Compressors. This was kind of the card that helps consistency a lot. We're not playing a super, super large line of supporters, and so this actually helps us to thin our deck out, put supporters in there. We can also put energies in there so we can Mega Turbo them back out onto our Mega Mewtwo much quicker. So Battle Compressor helps us thin the deck out, makes us more consistent, helps us get to the supporters that we need much sooner. So we play 2 of those in the deck. Right, we play 4 Mega Turbos. I know this might seem a little overkill, but what I really hate is, playing only 2 Mega Turbos. You get stuck with both of them in your hand, and you have to sycamore them away, and you never get to use any more again for the rest of the game. This can sometimes be a dead card early, but with Battle Compressor and how quickly we get 2 Mega Mewtwo, Mega Turbo just is very rarely a dead card. And if we do get it early and it's dead, we can always Ultra Ball it away, and we still have 3 available. So I play the maximum of those because we really want to be able to get our Mega Mewtwo Y charged up with energy as quickly as possible. We play Super Rod. This is a really useful card too. I've found sometimes I have to Ultra Ball a Mega Mewtwo or a Zoroark or even the Zoroark Break away on my very first hand, and I usually don't ever have to worry about it because I know I have this one Super Rod in here, and that I'll always be able to put them back in sometime later in the game. It could be prized, but I feel confident I'm going to take a couple prizes and have a chance to get this back in. So I don't have a problem, even Ultra Balling away some stuff that we might need for later. Anyway, so Super Rod's just really helpful to help get the Pokemon that we need back in. We play 4 Ultra Ball. I played this at 3 at first, and this just needs, you have to max out on Ultra Balls. We want to try to get an Ultra Ball in our starting hand. If we do, we're going to, and Hoopa's not prized, we're going to grab Hoopa. We're going to thin the deck some more because we're going to then be able to pull out some Mewtwo's, grab some Shaymins, at least one Shaymin, and we're going to get even more card draw on that first turn, setting us up most likely so that we have a Spirit Link or a Sky. Let us grab the Spirit Link, and then a Mega Mewtwo ready to go by turn 2. We do play 4 VS Seeker, again, because we play a smaller supporter line. You know, some people I've seen play 10, 15 supporters, and we're only playing 6, 7, we're only playing 10 supporters in this deck. So the VS Seekers really are our supporters. So we play 4 of those, and that helps us not to need to put Birch and Shauna and those kind of draw support cards in there, because we can always just VS Seeker for a Sycamore if we need to. We do also play 2 float stones. This is just important for the Zoroark. I mean, it gives us free retreat after he uses the stand-in ability, and so then we can just stand in, retreat using the float stone. That allows us to clear poison and confusion and whatnot. And also allows us to move into another attacker if we need to. So if we have you know, a Mega Mewtwo that's getting hurt, but we don't have a Shrine of Memories to change the damage back onto the opponent, we can go into our other Mega Mewtwo Y and you know, begin attacking with that until we can get the damage change set up, and then we can bring the other one back once we're ready with the damage change. So very, very useful here. Alright, so that's everything except the energies. Now you're going to be thinking that my energy selection is quite odd, and it took me a while to come to this conclusion. I want to be able to use damage change, which means I need the psychic energy. I also want to make sure that I have at least some potential energy drops to be able to use Zoroark Break, which is dark. So for that reason, I play 5 psychic energy, 1 dark energy, 2 rainbow energies, and then I play 4 double colorless DCEs. Now let me talk to you about my thinking on this. My thinking is that because I know I'm going to be using the damage change, I don't mind using a rainbow energy to put on Mega Mewtwo. Because that 10 extra damage may just end up going back to our opponent. Now, it is a risk-reward play here, because I am risking the fact that now instead of having 210 HP, I'm only going to have 200 HP, and it may put me in one-shot range a little bit easier. But the reward side is that's an extra 10 damage that goes on to the opponent when I damage change, and that 10 damage might be enough to go from like a 120 knockout to now a 120 which is not a knockout to a 130 which is a knockout. So 2 rainbow energies is useful. It's also can be double up as dark energy, so it allows me to use the Zoroark Break. So sometimes it does go on Zoroark Break. It does put 10 damage on Zoroark Break, but if I'm using it, it's most likely that I'm using it for a good reason, and it's gonna outweigh the risk of putting that 10 damage on. I do play 1 darkness energy. One thing about rainbow energy is it cannot be mega turboed back on. Darkness energy can be mega turboed, so if I don't need Zoroark Break in the deck, I can always use this darkness energy on Mega Mewtwo, and it still does the same damage as it would a psychic energy, and I can mega turbo it on, but it gives me another out for Zoroark Break. So I have 3 energies that I can use on Zoroark Break. I have 7 energies that I can use for damage change. And then I have all of the energies which can be used to intensify Mega Mewtwo Y's attack. Now, of course, double colorless is really strong in this deck, simply because it just increases the damage output for Mega Mewtwo Y. So we play the maximum of these 4, and even though I don't particularly like it, you know, I would prefer to have 2 psychic energies and a double colorless on my Mega Mewtwo, because then I'm ready for the damage change at any time. Two double colorlesses can help you take knockouts really fast. And if you get really want to get aggressive, you can put three double colorlesses on one Mega Mewtwo, and then you're going to be taking out just about everything in the game at this point. So anyway, guys, that's the deck. I know I went a little long, but I wanted to go in detail because it's a little bit of a complicated deck. It took me a little while to get the hang of it, but once you use it, it's quite fun. So this will be the deck that I will be featuring tomorrow night on Tuesday Night Fights against my son Link Geek. I'm also going to show you his deck in just a moment, so keep an eye out for that. And then anyway, so hit like. Tell me what your comments are, and any questions, what you like about the deck, and also if you haven't subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. We really appreciate and value every one of you that subscribes. So until next time, this is Pokedad signing off.